content standards, whether they be the Common Core, Next Generation Science standards, or your subject's disciplines specific standards, emphasize data analysis, interpretation, and explanation. In other words, just not collecting data, not just analyzing it, but making an interpretation, making some explanation between the variables in the data set. And so we're going to use the Concord Consortium's Common Online Data Analysis Platform, CODAP, and to do some of the analysis of the data so that we can make some claims about it. So on this this page right here, they've provided a number of different data sets and also some questions that you can ask yourself in terms of doing analysis. You'll want to pick one of these that's relevant to your discipline or to your interests. I'm just going to choose a couple right here. I'm going to choose this one here on 4 seals. And there's going to be some information right here you can read to give you some update as to what you might want to do with the data set. But I want to show you kind of the techniques for how to work with the data set. First of all, these tabs are all movable. And so we can look at this data set here. It's quite a large data set. And there's 4 seals here, elephant seal number 546, 541, etc. So if we look at 541, you can see it brings up the data which is relevant to 541. This is going to be the day when it was observed and the date and the month and so forth. So they put tracking devices on these 4 seals, and they wanted to just collect some data so that they could answer some questions. In other words, where were the seals going? So if we're going to make a claim about where they're going, we can see if it's random or if it's focused. So notice on this map, which I can enlarge by dragging the corner, typical of pretty much all the computer graphics features, is we can enlarge it like that. And if I can look on elephant seal 546, we can see there it is, and then 536. And so it appears one claim that we could make is that the elephant seals are going into the same area in the North Pacific, regardless of whether they leave from California or Baja California, and they're going to an area south of the Aleutian Islands, about even with Oregon and Washington. Now, that would be a claim, okay? The evidence is based upon the tracks that we have, and the reasoning is saying that we've actually have these data points and they're representative of where the seal is at a particular point. Now, that's not a very interesting question. I mean, the real question is, why are they going out there? Well, we can investigate a little bit more. Now, you might say this map is an unusual way to look at data. How did we get to that map? Well, you have a data set which you can take from CODAP's pre-prepared data sets or your own. You can, if it has latitude and longitude data, if you click on the map tool here, it'll generate the map. And again, the highlighted section is relative to the subject at hand. So if I wanted to see where they were on a particular date, like on May 29th, we can see that May 29th, that elephant seal at the first measurement was right there on Baja California. If I scroll forward to look at elephant seal number 546, all right, or maybe just the other one right here, let's see, this one here, on May 29th, sure enough, that was also on the California coast. So these 2 seals seem to be starting somewhere in May. Well, if I want to see exactly where they are at any particular point, how about if I plot the month? I'll drag the month onto this map. When I do so, what it's going to do is it's going to show by color where they are at particular points. And so, again, I'll make this larger here so you can see some of the detail, and you can see how far they travel in a month. So let me just go ahead and make this one large enough that we can do some kind of analysis with. So the color there, if I click on the blue, I can click on the various different levels, and it's going to highlight now where they are. So if I click on December, we can see that the seals seem to be primarily off the coast by December. If we click on June, again, they're off the coast. Well, when are they out there in the depths? Okay, so if I click on September here, it seems like in September, a few of those seals, at least 3 of them, it looks like even 4 of them, are out there at somewhere in the central North Pacific. Now, again, the question would be, why are they out there? Well, again, we're tracking that they are going out there. They tend to be out there by late summer or early fall, and we can see that from the map. But we can also graph data. Okay, graph data, not on a map, but on a typical XY axis. So that's what this is here. And again, this graph here was created just by clicking on the graph tool. So click on the graph tool, and you'll see that the dots, if I click on a dot like here, let's say click on this one right here, that dot there represents that data set. Well, it's pretty random as to what this means. It doesn't mean anything really. But if I wanted to say, okay, let's take a look there and see that if they're far out here in the ocean, let's look at longitude. So you look at longitude, and let's say that their longitude going from minus 165, which would be clear out here in the North Pacific, down to 120, therefore would be near the coast. If I looked at that and say, well, does it vary with depth? And so I'm going to drag depth down here. So look at depth, and I'm going to drag depth onto this axis. And so now I put depth versus longitude. Now I'm looking at this, I'm going to say, well, it appears as though they're going up and down because here's sea level, and it appears that they spend the vast majority of their time deeply underwater. I don't know if I think that's feet rather than meters, so it's 200 feet under the water. And so the question is, why are they down here at this level? And then why do they kind of omit this section, and why are they down at this level? Now I'd make a claim that that's based upon what they're feeding upon. Perhaps they are grazing or searching for some kind of a food down here at 2 different levels. Maybe it's 2 different types of fish. Somebody might say, okay, well, maybe it's plankton. Plankton, phytoplankton is going to have chlorophyll in it. So I'm going to put chlorophyll onto this graph. I'm going to color their plants by chlorophyll. And I'm going to see now that kind of the distribution of where the chlorophyll is here. And does it appear to be plants? It's hard to say because they seem to be randomly distributed. So perhaps that's not the answer. Maybe they're looking at 2 different types of fish, one at level A and one at level B. Now, the key thing here is that you're actually learning how to analyze data in a different set and to make some kind of a claim. So I'm going to claim that these seals tend to migrate to the North Central Pacific. They tend to get there routinely at the end of summer. They tend to go up and down in the water column along the way, as well as when they get there. And my claim is that they're probably feeding on 2 different types of organisms, based upon the fact that they tend to hang out at 2 different elevation bands. Now, those are claims. There's some evidence, there's some reason. That does not mean I'm correct. But the whole point is you're getting the students to think about the various different parameters that are involved. So if you are done with your analysis like that, you can do screen captures of it. You can also save the documents and so forth, and as you've done some analysis. But I would suggest for our purposes, we do a screen capture and then present a question and then a claim to answer that question. And then also your evidence, which would be based upon what you're seeing here, and some reasoning.